are in need of you today, Lord. Be with our soldiers in the four directions, the mourners in our tribe and our community, and be with the council as we discuss these things today. Thank you, Lord, and we say these things in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. I just want to greet our tribal members and all our community that's watching our meeting tonight, and just want to thank the Tribal Council for their attention today. We had a meeting this morning on enrollment. We had a discussion that carried over, and the Tribal Council got together over the lunch hour and shared a meal, prayed together, visited, talked about ideas for the membership and how we can make concessions to for some of the children that still aren't able to be enrolled. And then we even laughed together and teased. So I just want to tell you guys that I really appreciated your time this afternoon and also this evening. We have an agenda and we have a few additions. The first one under new business is the grant for the Boys and Girls Club site selection and resolution. The number two, that would be number 2. Number 3 would be RC old business. Would be number 4, the Bluestone strategic plan approval. And under tribal council items, I'll put number 2 as patient satisfaction, annual hospital patient satisfaction annual report. And that would make under tribal council items number 3, the executive session. Are there any further additions to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, can we add a council travel clarification?
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Make the motion.
I got one other thing.
Oh, you got something else, Isaac?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how you guys felt about meeting back in person at the table. Basically, just had that on there for discussion or either
For
action.
person. Okay. Any further additions to the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a second. Second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Okay, our first item are the minute approval. We have the 10-4 regular tribal council meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. The next set are the 10-6-21 oath of office and reorganization meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Our last set of minutes are the 10-13-21 CEO report meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Louis. Discussion.
Oh, okay. I keep seconding, but I don't.
I don't hear you, Rona.
So is it anybody else? Hello?
Did anybody else hear her? I didn't hear her. Okay, sorry about that, Rona. If
Okay.
you call her, I can hear you through the wall.
Okay.
700. All right, we have the ratification of our 5 signatures. The first one in the packet is approval of administrative leave. That was for the Indigenous Peoples' Day as well as Kelsey Decorah State Golf. Do we have a motion to ratify?
Motion to ratify.
We have a motion by Derek. Do we have a
Second.
Second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 700. The second one is to adopt resolution 2203 home site lease, Winnebago Tribe, Linnell and Kenneth Blackhawk. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to ratify. We got a motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. In discussion, I just want to explain that because of Indigenous Peoples' Day, we had to not hold our land meeting, and we didn't want to make the family wait until next month. So that's why we did it like that. Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Thank you, council. Under new business, we have the Winnebago Gaming Commission financials, and those financials have been corrected. And Damon submitted those and moved the revenue into the correct portion of the sheet, and that is in your packet. And these are, and so there's also a memo in there explaining those items. Lorelai.
Madam Chair, am I missing it, or where did they put what the question I had was, in the previous budget, they had employee incentives and it said years of experience or years of service, and then so I asked if that could be clarified. So where is that?
There you see a memo on right the page before. There's a memo from the Gaming Commission. Is that in your packet?
Yes.
So we could talk about that at the next treasurer's report, because I think that's going to need more discussion on kind of what they've been following and what our understanding is. But that is there in case you.
Madam Chair, I move to table this until we have this discussion.
Okay,
Because as I understand it, the Winnebago tribe no longer has years of service
okay,
for its employees. So we need to discuss this. I motion to table this.
okay. We have a motion by Lorelai to table this. What meeting would you like this at the
The treasurer's report.
at the next treasurer's report? We have a second.
Second.
Second by
I have a
Eric.
question.
Okay, discussion, Rona.
Okay, we're tabling what? The monthly report? Is that what we're doing, or?
No, we're tabling the employee incentive till we're clear on what,
So that's the fiscal year 2020 or 2022 budget then. It's not the monthly financials
no, it's the 2022
budget.
budget.
Okay, so can we go ahead and approve the financials as modified for the month of September?
Yeah, so the memo is answering Lorelai's question, and we're gonna table that issue.
Okay,
And the financials weren't approved last month because they had an error. And Tanya didn't have the explanation, but she was able to communicate that, and because we were like 100 and something in the negative, and it was from the carryover that had been paid to the tribe.
okay.
That's that. Okay, so let me finish this motion for the tabling the years of service question to the next treasurer's report. Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carries 700. Okay. So the next one, the financials, is a motion to approve the modified August 2021 financials. So does the council want to make a motion to approve these financials, or are we looking for something else? So I'm gonna ask,
August. Oh, this is August's report. You pointed out the change to me earlier.
it was
I don't
the,
see it now. Never mind.
so I don't know where it's at in here, but where they took out the carryover that was reflected in here that made us negative, over negative 100,000. So do we have a motion to approve these financials, or would the council like to motion to table these until the treasurer's report when Damon can go through them?
I would agree with tabling until we can get Damon.
Yeah. Second.
So were you making that motion, Eric?
Yes.
Okay, so we will table the August 21st, 2021 Gaming Commission financials to the next treasurer's report, and second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 700. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't able to explain that, council. I was just trying to go off of what Damon shared when he brought those. The next order of business is new business, and we have materials here from the Boys and Girls Club. Joy has shared 2 resolutions, and the difference in each resolution are the sites. Do we have anyone on the phone? Joy's on the line. Joy, will you be speaking to this?
Yes. We wanted to make certain where the tribal council was going to want to have their building. I've talked with Wombly on a couple occasions. We're kind of up in the air. The more economical choice is at the Ho Chunk Village by substantially around $700,000 difference. As I understand it, in order to run the water, sewer, and electrical, all the utilities from Land of Wellness, where their current building is, all the way to the end, which is the site where we're considering for the Boys and Girls Club out there, it's around $700,000. I'd share the spreadsheet with you, but unfortunately it came as a PDF, and my PDF this afternoon decided it didn't want to work. So I apologize for that. As far as for the Ho Chunk Village site, that would put it close in the new 2.0 area. It would, as you're looking at that from the highway, it would be closest to the highway and at about in the middle of where you see the dirt work that's going on there would be the location. They have one long lot called lot 57, and we would be looking to occupy about half of that lot, which would make up about 1 acre of land. And that would house their building that would include not only educational rooms, office spaces, but also a gymnasium for them in that building.
Thank you, Joy, for working with the Boys and Girls Club director and board of directors. Has the board of directors, do they have a preference?
If they do, Wombly has not shared that with me. I did ask them if they had a preference, and he said either way is fine.
Okay. Well, my preference, even though it's the most costly one, is that they're near the other activities and
Land of wellness.
infrastructure and wellness over there, but our understanding that's more expensive. Just open it up to the table for comment.
Okay, comment. One of the things that, one of the problems that we're having right now is a highway. And those kids are running across that road. And if we put them north of town, to my understanding, that was all gonna be residential. And I don't know how the residential homeowners would feel about having that over there. Knowing that those kids would be running around after hours and while they're gone, if that's what's gonna be put over there. And if we're gonna put it somewhere, I would be in agreement with putting it by the land of wellness, just due to the fact that there's other places of activities that go on out there. And with the size of that field out there, they could also open up a big yard out there for the Boys and Girls Club as well, so they could play some outside sports, soccer, something, other than that, that gives them room to hold activities. Whereas the residential area north of town, they would be pretty limited, except down to the building and a gymnasium. Whereas if we keep it outside, it would keep our children more productive. Then, you could do like horse rides or anything like that that would be more suited for outside activities. So that's just what I see with that and placing it in a certain place. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Lorelei?
I just had a question to Joy. If it goes into the Ho Chunk Village, then the resolution says the tribe's gonna put ARPA funds into the project of 5.3 million. And then is that separate than what we already allocated under ARPA for that Ho Chunk Village 2.0 infrastructure?
No, at this point, the ARPA funds were budgeted for $6.5 million. And our plan is to be able to use these ICDBG funds so that we can use those ARPA funds for other projects. So Alan has suggested that we need to keep this project at that $6.5 million limit, and then see if we can find other funds to minimize the expense to the ARPA funds category. Sound right, Alan? Did we explain that correctly?
No. Well, you
Okay,
explained it
go
correctly,
for it.
but didn't answer her question correctly. Yes, this is in addition to the infrastructure at Ho Chunk 2.0, but it is not in addition to what's in the ARPA funds budget.
Okay, so I misunderstood the question. Thank you, Alan.
Ellen, before you go, so the same amount of money is in the other resolution for the land by land of wellness, 5.3. So this is 5.3. We can use that for wherever we put the project, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any talk about in the negotiations with Anderson about them making a donation to the tribe for a site for a Boys and Girls Club? It came up once before, but I haven't been privy to that information about the negotiation.
Okay, so I think we should table this because I'm just getting texts from the director that I think that they need to be a part of this discussion. So I guess I don't know why I didn't read the email that got sent last night, but
Tori, do we have this is Joyce, sorry. do we have a means to get him on the phone for the discussion here? We
I guess-
are on a deadline is my concern.
I don't see why you guys aren't on the same page. That's why I don't understand how it got to this point and we're not on the same page.
That's my concern because I thought we were.
It doesn't sound like we are.
Okay.
So, what's the deadline?
The 25th, it has to be into HUD.
Okay. So I guess I'm just confused on why Wombly wasn't invited to this meeting.
That I don't know.
Because he's the director, so if you're placing something on the agenda, I would think that the director would be here. Like when you have something for Shiara is here.
Right. I included him in the email correspondence.
Okay, so do we have a motion to table this until we can hear from the director?
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Eric and a second by Brian. As soon as can be scheduled or looked at, can we do that? Okay, so we have a motion, second, discussion.
Do you want to put that on the treasurer's report?
That might be too late because the treasurer's report is on the what?
Friday. Friday is the treasurer's report.
Okay, well, that would meet the 25th deadline. That's the right one. Okay,
General Council's Wednesday.
general council's Wednesday. So any, it's the next available opportunity, which will be the general council. Hopefully we can have it ready by then. Are we okay with that?
I'd agree with that.
Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Okay. Yes, please. All right, we got old business here. Really thankful for Irita and Lita reworking that quarantine housing plan. We had discussion amongst the council and some of the membership that had concern that we were moving too fast with that. We had also learned that at the last NAFOA conference that there's, with the deadline for the CARES to be spent extended, that also extends the timeline when you can repurpose the use of those capital assets that were purchased with CARES money. So that brings us to a modified quarantine housing plan that needs council consideration. I'd like to open up the floor and invite the department who was here. Who's going to talk about this? Lorelei, you have a comment?
Madam Chair, we had an email or the link forwarded to Thelma Whitewater. Thelma, are you in the meeting? Because she's wanted this motion brought back on the quarantine housing for reconsideration. Thelma, are you in the call?
She did get the link and she also did text me. So I'm not seeing her. Anybody on your end seeing Thelma as a caller or an attendee?
Well, Madam Chair, we learned that we can't sell these houses until after December 2021, right? Or 22 or 2021. So her question that she wanted us to think about was, what about if we can't sell them, can we rent them out to people that need housing? The ones that they're not using for COVID. That was her question.
So my answer without looking at the guidelines was they can't be repurposed until that time. Whether it be selling them or renting them. I mean, if we rent them to people that have COVID, but why would we charge them to quarantine them? But that's my out the gate response. I open it up. Alan, you got a comment on that?
Basically, from what the Physical Resources Department is doing is just extending the deadline for the existing plan until after December 31, 2021. Just because that's the earliest date that anything could happen. And then plus with the increase in activity with COVID, I know that WCHS has also requested to change the deadline for turning houses back to the tribe, or turning some of those properties back to the tribe and keeping them for quarantine housing. So that's really all this does, is take the existing plan and move it about 3 months down the road. I think if there's other consideration that could be done in that timeline.
So in that time, we can consider what's going to happen with those as far as rentals and such. Council, you may have gotten a memo from Irita, and that's noting, recapping what we just heard. Has Thelma joined in the meantime? Does she have a? Okay, well, we can circle back with Thelma. We were just out of respect for Thelma. We were trying to follow up on that, and thankful for her leadership and just trying to carry that forward to make the best use of those and give access to people that need them. But right now our hands are tied a little bit with the CARES Act guidelines. And we've learned that anything that we do outside of that, we pay back. So, is there any more comments on that topic? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. We have the facility snow removal policy, and it's noted that there are amendments. We continuously hear from seniors or different tribal members that are needing service and priority. And so we've been trying to work with the department, and we do it on a case-by-case basis, but we wanted to formalize that and have a full understanding of I guess the order in some of the way these things happen. And does anybody have information they'd like to talk about this?
Madam Chair, I want to thank the facilities and the physical resources because they amended the policy so that it also adds salt can be provided at senior homes when requested. So that was what we wanted. So I move to approve this amended policy.
Thank you, Lorelei. We have a motion by Lorelei to approve the
Second.
Nebraska facility snow removal policy. We have a motion by Lorelei, and we have a
Discussion.
discussion. Brian.
One of the other comments that was made was reprioritizing those priority items listed, moving I think it was items 3 to the top, if I'm not correct, if I'm not incorrect. That was not done on the revision.
Putting people with the medical needs up front first, where they're.
Yeah, because remember the discussion was circling around dialysis patients, etc.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. As I remember, we did want to see the people with medical needs and dialysis at the top.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion.
So the thing, and I don't know if who I was in the presence of when I heard these comments, but they talked about why the tribal buildings were first, and it was because of the access and the liability, and they said, but then you'd have people trying to get into the hospital or somewhere for an appointment, and there would be no access. Yeah. Oh, it was the post office. That was the other reason why that we had to have that. Those were first, but that does not mean that they cannot be done concurrently. I just want to make sure I capture what the feedback was, why it was like that. Looking on the line. Lorelai, would you be willing to still make your motion if you just direct that to be the first, that's what the council wanted to see?
Yes, I'll write amended with the emergency or people with medical needs and dialysis are at the top of the list.
Okay, Eric, do you stand by your second? Oh, excuse me, Isaac. Sorry about that. You guys sound the same. Look the same too. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0. Our next item is the emergency grant.
Never mind.
We had some confusion with the emergency grant, and we had made an amendment to the emergency grant that allowed for the person that may be ill or may have passed, that they didn't have to be a tribal member. And what we took notice of was that a lot of these emergency assistance requests that were denied were because the loved one wasn't enrolled Winnebago, but they were. And so in reading and interpreting that, we kind of had some, I'll call it confusion amongst ourselves on one group and to be consistent. And so that brought it back to the packet, and there needed to be some language that needed to be under consideration to be struck. So if you notice in the packet on the first page under number 3, it says grants may be awarded only in documented cases of death or serious critical illness of a tribal member who is also an immediate family member of the applicant. So of a tribal member is causing confusion because it's being interpreted that the person that has passed or is ill of a tribal member. And it's been understood that that was the change that we did last fall. But with that language in there of a tribal member, it's being interpreted otherwise. Does that make sense, Lorelai? Is that kind of how we got to this point again?
So the person who either died or is seriously ill has to be a tribal member according to what this says. It says grants may be awarded only in documented cases of death or serious critical illness of a tribal member who is also an immediate family member of the applicant. So it doesn't say the applicant has to be a tribal member. It says that, you have to be an enrolled member of the Winnebago tribe to be an applicant, but the death or serious illness has to be of a tribal member. So you have to be a tribal member to apply, and you have to be an immediate family member to apply, but the person you're applying on behalf of has to be a tribal member too. That's what this says. So do we want to go forward with that, or do we want just the applicant to be the tribal member? Because there are people that lose a loved one at Ho Chunk Nation and want to go up there, and they're not an enrolled member of our tribe.
So thank you, Lorelai. And so maybe I understood it as that we had changed that requirement to be how you just now stated it last fall. And so to my knowledge, that's the way they've been being administered. And then we had our little hiccup in our point of discussion where we weren't all on the same page. So Lorelai reminded us that we need to be doing what it says. And for that matter, we need to amend this form so that we're compliant and following our own rules. So that's why it's here. Are there any comments on that?
I got a comment. The way I'm looking at it is number 2, it's saying that you have to be an enrolled member to be an applicant, but on number 3, at the end, it says who is also an immediate family member of the applicant, because not all parents or significant others will be enrolled members. And so that's why the enrolled member would be able to become an applicant for that money to attend their close non-enrolled members in a hospital or their wakes or funerals. That's kind of the way I'm looking at that. Thank you.
So how about doing this? Because line 2 says grants are awarded only if the applicant is an enrolled member of the Winnebago tribe. So number 3, grants may be awarded only in documented cases of death or serious critical illness of an immediate family member of the applicant. Take out tribal member.
Yep, that would work. That's the recommendation. Rona had a comment.
I just had a comment. I mean, last year this was Lorelai's thing, and this is the way she wrote it, and now it's changing again. So I'm not sure. And we've been operating under those policy where we've helped people for an ill person in Wisconsin or a death of somebody in Oklahoma. We've been doing that. So I don't know. I don't understand what. This is what she presented last year, and we've been operating under it. And there was this one case where somebody wanted to go to Wisconsin again, and she wanted it stopped and told us all to do a 5 signature. So just that one case, I'm wondering why the idea is changing, or why it needs to be changed now when we operated under all year long.
Madam Chair, I want to speak to that because I wasn't the one who made this. The motion was to authorize the chair to make this so that the tribal member can go for either the serious death of a loved one or, so I wasn't the one that presented this. I want to make that clear. And the chair in that motion was authorized to make it for the serious or critical illness or death of an immediate family member, and it just, but that of a tribal member was still left in there. I didn't do that. That's what I'm trying to correct it. What was the intent of the council?
So thank you, Lorelai. From my, I guess, recollection of the discussion and how we've been functioning was that the change made and that what the council agreed to was they struck, or there was language in there about once per occasion or once per something. That was once per incident, and we took that out because then that allowed people to come in multiple times. Like, I have a cold, my foot hurts, so since it was once per incident, we took that out, and then they couldn't come that many times, just once per year. And then what we added was that they didn't have to be the applicant. It used to say the applicant and the ill person had to be enrolled. And so that was the second change, was that the person didn't have to be enrolled, but the applicant did. The person asking for the money has to be enrolled. So from my understanding and in operations, that's how it's been. And this discussion came out of one approval that came under scrutiny. So is there a motion to strike of a tribal member who is also? We have a motion by Lorelai. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Louis. Discussion.
Discussion, Madam Chair.
Brian.
I just want to reiterate the point that was made when this was discussed last year, that this policy is probably the most abused policy. This policy gets thrown back and forth and up and down based on whatever's out there. And I just wanted to be pointed out again, because we did mention this last time around, that the diligence that is done in the, I guess, the support of this policy also has to continue to move forward, because if it doesn't, the tribe's setting itself up for a carte blanche free-for-all on this line item.
I appreciate you saying that, Brian, because clearing this up, you know, we'll take care of some of that if we all understand. And Teresa and Tyresha and Tammy, it's sometimes really difficult to make some of these phone calls to verify the information. You know, but they do it, and they call the hospitals and call the morgues, unfortunately, and it's just it's kind of a real sensitive ask that we try to do respect and care with when they come in. So that's kind of just what I wanted to say about it. So also, when they come in and say, my loved one has this going on, we use the best methods to verify that. And there's the emergency assistance one where there's a disaster. You know, we have to look at the news and the maps to see if they're in the affected area. So just to your point, I try to be really careful with making sure they're legit. So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Any objection to the motion? Okay, motion carried 700. Thank you, Council. The next item is the Bluestone strategic plan. So we did have a modified document come forward, and Council, have you had time to look at that in the meantime? There was a one-pager created that recapped some of the input from the council, and I don't know if Isaac would even have had that. He didn't receive that.
No, I didn't get nothing.
Okay, so Isaac, the tribe had engaged with Bluestone Strategy Group to do some planning, and I guess the best way I can say it is when it came time to present the document, it didn't seem like the council's expectations were met, or that it was in the scope of work that we thought we were getting. So from there, they put together a kind of a summary of what they thought we wanted to have. I don't know. Joy, can you jump in, or is that accurate, or
I think she went to the Chungage.
so that's from the last time we tabled this, was those changes were made and the council wasn't prepared to approve it.
I got a quick question. So is there anything pending on this plan or anything, as far as, is there a little bit of time where I could look at it and check it out before you guys do anything about it or take action on it?
Yeah, there's no, I don't want to say there's no rush, but it's not, I don't believe there's a deadline for this plan. Joy, is there a deadline?
So is it in an email?
I can send it to you, Isaac. This is Joy.
Oh, okay, you're back. Good.
Yeah, we had
Madam
trouble
Chair, just
unmuting, so.
for disposal, I'll make a motion to table until the first.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian to table the Bluestone. We have a second by Eric. Was that Eric or Isaac? Eric, okay. You know what? Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 0-0. Hey guys, I have Damon here with me. He was on the line apparently, but he was not presenter, so he couldn't speak. But I let him know that that we motioned to table that. The next item we have on here are gaming licenses, review and discussion. Lorelai.
Oh, sorry. I I think the one I wanted, it was under tribal council, sorry.
We have gaming license review and discussion. Does anybody have any info on that or what that's about?
Yes, actually, I believe this was the subject related to the free play.
Okay. We had some email exchange and question from some of our seniors who are employed at Winnebago, and there had been questions if they're allowed to utilize their free play as employees. I don't have any additional information on that topic. Would the council like to table this for discussion with our gaming commission? Okay. Is there a motion to table the gaming license review discussion to the next treasurer's report on October 26th? We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you. The next item would be, what is that?
Hospital.
Oh yeah, okay, patient satisfaction. Couldn't read my own writing. Is there a motion to request the Winnebago Comprehensive Healthcare System provide a patient satisfactory annual report?
Make that motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second by Brian. Discussion. Objection, oh, Isaac.
Is there a deadline on that, or is that when they get it done?
We had for some time been working and talking with Human Services on a satisfaction survey for them. And from that came the idea that we should also get some data and recap of how satisfied our people are at the hospital. And through their patient grievance process, they have data to share. And so that's why we encourage people to write it up, you know, when they had a bad experience or they feel like they weren't, didn't get the care that the expectations met, then they should write it up, because then it actually goes somewhere and is looked at and we can measure it. And if there's like reoccurring instance with something, then we have it on paper. So that's kind of why it's good that we have that, even when it seems like a negative thing. It's a positive thing to improve services. So, any further discussion? Lorelai?
Is there a deadline?
Also, since Human Services we just approved their customer satisfaction survey. In a year from now, they'll have data to show us the same that we're asking of WCHS. So do we just keep that in mind, or do we put it as a next motion?
Sure, if we can make another motion asking for that. Do you want to, let's wrap up this
Okay.
one.
All right.
Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you. Lorelai, did you want to make a motion to schedule on an annual basis the human services?
Yes, in a year from now, they'll have a year's worth of data. But one of the other things I just wanted to say on that past motion for the WCHS is, when I worked over there, there were patients that were pleased with their services that also said that in there. So we want to know that too. That our people feel thankful for the services they got. So we're not just looking at the negative, we're looking at the impact overall of the service. Did they like the service they got? Oh, but anyway, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion from Lorelai for the human services annual satisfaction report. Do we have a second? Second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. The next item is travel verification. We had discussion earlier this afternoon, and it was involving travel requirements, and we were saddened that Councilman Armel was not able to join us at the celebration in Lincoln for Indigenous Peoples Day. So we wanted to clarify that employee travel policies aren't being applied to tribal council, and that if tribal council is asked by motion to attend something, that the tribe would provide the mileage and such for that tribal council member. So that was our discussion. Do we have any clarifying motions, Brian?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to clarify the tribal council directed travel policy. And what the detail of that is, this may not necessarily be in the motion, but just in the notes that you'll keep, is that if the council approves travel, activity, location, whatever at the table, that needs to be provided for by the organization as approved by the table. So the motion is actually to provide the clarification, but that's what the justification is.
Okay. Thank you for that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion. The discussion that I'll just add for, we have certain policies that are employee policies, and sometimes it's like they spill over to TC and they're applied because that's what exists and that's the understanding of the organization. So we just want to, one, follow the rules, and two, make sure that we have understanding of what applies to employees and what applies to TC and lack thereof. So thank you. Any further comments? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Also this afternoon, I had mentioned that we had a really good discussion. It's like we talked about enrollment for probably 6 hours today. And it was nice to sit with one another. And Isaac mentioned meeting in person again. So Isaac, did you want to bring some discussion forward on that?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to kind of, since we're streaming and out there wherever everybody can kind of tune in at, just to kind of get your guys' feedback on what you guys felt about meeting in person and trying to reschedule our meetings in person. I think it knocks down one of the obstacles that we're up against is communication. So it's kind of clears a little bit of that up. I mean, we get to be able to kind of bring things forward and kind of share what information that each one of us are working on, or all the different things that's going on, or maybe somebody came and talked to us about, we could get a chance to share that with each other when we do meet at the table. So I just kind of wanted to, I'm willing to make a motion just to see how it goes, but to meet back at the table, but I just kind of wanted to open it up for discussion, really, see what you guys thought about it.
Well, I appreciate it, Isaac. I think there's a willingness. There's also hesitation, but Eric?
I'd be in agreement to be back in the chambers, but just to leave it at the tribal council for now, because there's only 9 of us, and we got to try to keep ourselves safe. You know, we still have the mask mandate in effect, and anyone else that would come in, they would come in on as usual on the screen. So if that motion would be made, I would second that. Just to start moving into a place where we can converse, have direct communication with each other, and when it's meeting time, that we'll all be on the same sheet of paper and we'll all have an understanding of what we're doing and catching up, through the events or things that we hear, even emergency purposes. So, thank you.
Okay, well, with that, is there a motion to that effect? Did anybody want to make a motion?
Your mic cut out.
Lorelei?
Madam Chair, I think it's hard for our council member and our cherished council member Louis I don't know how hard it is for him to come down. And so I would want to leave it up to him if he wanted to attend by the go-to webinar. Or if he can come down, I don't know. I would like to leave that up to him out of respect.
Okay, thank you for thinking of our elder. Louis, did you want to comment on that? I know you get around with your walker pretty good, but I just want to be considerate of you.
I go through a lot of pain, but I told the doctors I don't want any have any painkillers that will be habitual. So they have me on the pain pill that it works, but not enough. They give me some pills that had me, oh wow, and they were too good. I was counting the minutes for when I took my pill. I got off of those. I want to, today, we had a good council meeting. It was good to see all of you laughing, being serious, thinking, interacting. It was a fun time, and I enjoy those. But I would like to reserve the time when I let the council know it would be easier for me to stay home. I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I try to do is talk to myself. Some mornings I can talk to myself, no problem. The next day, I can't. So I try to adjust to the day. But I could let Victoria know.
Well, we appreciate you, Louis, and the people elected you, and so we're gonna work with whatever is good for you. And Louis does. He calls me sometimes. He says, "I'm having a good day," and he seems to say, "I'm having a bad day." And so Louis calls in to the office, frequently, and to just check in. And so we're in constant communication with Louis and make sure that he has the materials. We run the packets to him. So we're really thankful for Teresa, and Tammy that do that stuff. And I know Louis is too. So my feeling is that we allow Louis to take the meeting remotely on days that's best for him. Eric, did you have a comment?
Yes. So with that would kind of almost be outside that motion, but a lot of us are, we come to the office for the meetings anyway, and I think it would just be good if we turned on that camera in there and we can all just congregate down there for meetings or whatever it's worth. So not only that, but we still might have a council person on travel as well, and they might want to get in on a meeting while they're out of the office. So just to kind of keep it open like that, then. So I'd be in agreement with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to return to in-person meetings for those that are available? How do you want to word that?
I would make a motion to have all tribal council members that are able to attend meetings in person overlooking Louis' situation and then those that are on travel. It's kind of like what was worded.
Isaac makes a motion to return to attend tribal council meetings in person as available. Are you okay with that, or as?
Yeah, as available. So I kind of want to just see everybody, you know. I mean, I know there's the numbers and everything that's there and the COVID and everything, but today was a good day, and if we can have more of those days, I think a lot of things could turn around, and we're gonna get a lot of things done.
Thank you, Isaac. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion.
I think as long as there's clarity that the meetings are still provided for with an online presence.
Yes. Yeah, my understanding was that the motion was made and seconded with the understanding that the tribal members would still participate remotely. Is that your understanding, Isaac?
Yeah, kind of more or less. So if you turn your screen on, and I'm not picking on you, Brian, or anything, but if you turn, I would use you for an example. Turn your screen on and you're at home, then come into the meeting, I guess, try to say, you know, it's a lot easier to do it for when we're face to face, you know, and I know we all have them different feelings on it, but I just want to kind of meet with you guys and kind of get the ball rolling on some of the projects and some of the things that we talked about today, you know, and I think that in person would be good, but I also understand the cautions of the COVID and stuff. So that's one of the other things too. And then the other thing too is that we make this motion goes through. If it goes through, you know, hey, that's good. If it doesn't go through, that's all right. At least we tried, but monitoring the numbers and stuff and all the activity that goes on here in town, we might have to go right back to virtual too. So just trying to keep things moving, you know.
Appreciate it. Any further comments? Any objection to the motion? Motion passed 7-0-0. Thank you. Our next order of business is an executive session item. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Louis. Discussion. Will we need to return for action or will it be discussion? No, okay. So we have.
Whose item is it?
I thought that was yours, Brian.
No,
This is-
remember we clarified that's for general counsel, not this meeting.
Oh,
So Eric, do you want to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Louis, you want to withdraw your second?
yes,
Okay. So we will have that executive session at our general council meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Okay.
By Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, council. Thank you, IT, Teresa.